Oh, yes, ma'am. Like he's, obviously a very important part of our defense, but I think that really it's somewhat of a motivating factor, for our whole segment because we talk about setting the pace, but also having consistency with versatility. And he's done a really good job as a leader, like helping to develop the other guys in the room. So guys like D Bell, guys like Ronnie, like they're gonna have their role, increased and really like see their impact improving.
Brandon, when we talked to Jim yesterday, he mentioned like watching back the Dallas game, seeing plays that like could have been interceptions and not just like that ball that Denzel battled for. So did you guys see the same thing, and are these guys kind of just like chomping at the bit to try and make some of those takeaways?
Yes, ma'am. We talk a lot about like finishing game-changing plays, and that's been a really big focus of ours. Obviously winning the takeaway battle for our defense, for our offense, and our special team. So, like we fully anticipate making those plays, and we've been working diligently at it.
Brandon, going off of that, I guess, like the importance of takeaways and turnovers for you guys. What are those conversations when you are trying to make those plays in game and what you guys are seeing in the film?
Sure. You know what? We talk about hope is not a strategy, so keeping the focus on the work, keeping the focus on the detail, the preparation, is really at the forefront. But then, we use the start mantra, like why that's important. It's important because it affects our team.
Brandon, what's the rookie Thomas add to that passing game for them? Brian Thomas, what does he add to the Jaguars passing
Yeah,
game?
speed. He's a very fast guy, contested catch guy. And obviously he's going to take the place of other young guys that have been on that team. So again, he's just another weapon for a great quarterback.
How did you think Greg looked in that opener, especially given the fact that he had missed so much time with that hamstring?
Sure, Greg, even though he was gone, he was never out the building, and what I say, that's a very hardworking young guy. And obviously putting the forefront with our communication, with executing. I thought that he did really, really well. I thought that he was very engaged on the sideline. He did a really good job, like moving through adjustments, but more importantly, he applied them, and you know what? It helped our defense.
How about, Denzel really had a nice game, didn't he, against the Cowboys? He had such tight coverage on that 138-yarder, but then they really handled him after that.
Yes, ma'am. We talk about good, better, best. Never let it rest. Our good is our better, and our better is our best. So that was a good game, but we know that that's en route to us working to get better, and the focus being on the work. We're working on like putting our best games on tape.
What's the teaching point on that Brandon Cooks touchdown? Some guys have called it a miscommunication. Jim called it a technique error. What's the teaching point on that?
Sure. Attention to detail. Attention to detail and urgency to execute.
So, go ahead.
When you watch the Jaguars, what stands out to you the most about Trevor Lawrence?
I would say, arm talent. He has great arm talent. He gets the ball out of his hands with rhythm throws. He can make every single throw, and he's a viable scrambler. He can make plays outside the pocket.
You guys were close to some takeaways in that game, especially with the offense just kind of putting the whole thing together. How important is it for you guys to finish those takeaways and to really help out the offense right now?
Oh, absolutely. Like the focus is always on the team. So anytime that, we can get to shine more catches, we can get the ball back, for our special teams to get up there, it's going to help us in the future.
Oh, go ahead, Scott. I was going to say, Bubba was saying yesterday that he sensed, a lack of effort or not enough effort, and that he didn't feel like the guys played hard enough. What say you, basically?
Yeah, with the segment that, that we can approach, like we're the tip of the spear. So, like great effort is a minimal expectation in the room. We talk about like physical violence. We talk about effort and passion. So that is exactly what our moral fabric is on defense.
How tough is it to see Miles go down, after week one,
Yes, sir.
walking around the boot, and then on the flip side of that, to have Mike Ford back in your room?
Sure. We have to have like consistency with guys in development. So we were talking to Miles yesterday about that. Like unfortunate, but blessing in disguise, right? He'll get an opportunity to see things from a different vantage point. like really develop in his mental areas. So when he gets back, he will be prepared. And then that also highlights other guys on the roster, like you said, like Mike Ford, Khalif. You know, it gives those guys more opportunities to develop as well.
What have you seen out of Khalif this year? You know, second year, you know, he actually had a full off season and everything to work with him. What have you seen out of him, you know, just in his development?
Mindset. Like, and I say that with like a smile on my face, like mindset. Like that guy is a fierce competitor, and you know he's one of the hardest workers in the room. You know, he's a young guy that everybody, our best players in the room, really respect him for that. He's a very studious young man, and then he does what we do well. He plays press well, and he has impact starter ball skills. So again, when Miss Mary talks about like the importance of taking the ball away for our offense and special teams, he's a young guy. When on the field, he can definitely do it.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay, good to see you guys.
Take care.
Everyone's doing well? Cool, doing well, thanks.
So can you just address having to be without David this game and what impact that has on you guys?
Yeah, obviously David's been a very good player in this league for a long time and somebody that has been critical to, you know, the offense here for a lot of years and certainly plans of, you know, what we want to do offensively. But, you know, we want him to get healthy, we want him to get back. You know, when that is, you know, we'll see. But, you know, for us as a group, you know, we got to really play to our ability, be a sum of the parts, you know, to make up for missing David. We have a lot of belief in Jordan and the other guys in that room. Obviously, there's been some additions here over the last couple of weeks, but I'm excited for those guys to get an extended opportunity. You know, Jordan's a guy who had a lot of production in Houston, somebody that's played at a high level, somebody that's played with Deshaun, and really, you know, I think he has, you know, some strengths to his game, and you know, we look forward to putting him in those positions and allow him to go play. He's been great this week with prep and, you know, mentally really in tune to what we want to do.
What did you see out of Jordan when he was, you know, kind of called upon on Sunday to really full-time take over for David? What did you see out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, you know, the first thing is just like he played with some strain, right? I mean, there was finishing in the run game, you know, finishing downhill, trying to do things right. Obviously had a really nice catch on over the middle there, which is a strength of his game. I mean, he's caught a lot of passes in this league. He can be a matchup for us. So we just want to continue to make sure, you know, this week's completely different for him because you go from getting 25% of the reps to a large number of them and really owning the role that he has, mastering the plan that we have in, and making sure that he can go out and play as fast as he can without needing to think and just go operate within the offense.
I mean, with David, I know we've talked a lot about his blocking ability and how much he's worked at that part of his game. You know, Jordan said he himself has worked at that part of his game over the years. Just what does he bring in that regard and with protection for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most underrated traits of a good blocker at tight end is the ability to have athleticism, to have balance. Like the better the athlete is, you know, you think about a big, strong tight end. Well, sometimes if they're not as athletic, it's harder for them to stay on their feet and adjust and recover. And so Jordan's an excellent athlete, so I think he has some of the fluidity to do those things. Obviously, we play a large part in protecting our quarterback, and we got to do a good job of that again this week. You know, it's a huge point of emphasis for us. And so as many opportunities we have to help in that, we have a ton of confidence in Jordan to go out and do that. And, you know, he is eager for that challenge. And, again, like the run game stuff, he's, you know, done a nice job throughout the opportunities he's had, and he'll continue to do that for us.
Going back to David, now that you've been around him for as long as you have, is there something you've learned about him or kind of come to find out about him that you didn't know before you arrived here?
Well, I didn't know anything about him before, you know what I mean? So Dave is a energetic, passionate person who provides a lot of, you know, really like positive things for offense, whether it's energy, juice, you know, enthusiasm on the field. You know, I probably didn't realize that. I think his voice carries a lot of weight within our organization, and you know, he's a guy that can provide to others on the team, right? And that's really something that's, you know, powerful for him, and I think something he's worked at quite a bit. And you know, Dave's a really good person. Like, to his core, he's a really good person that cares about others. That, like, for me as a younger coach coming in, you have this, you know, big person. Like, we've hit it off from the day we stepped foot to work together, and so it's been a really great experience. You know, being with him, working with him, you know, getting to know him as the guy too, just not the player.
Tommy, how do you see Jordan grow with his ability to get yards after the catch and just kind of over the course of his career when you guys have worked together?
Yeah, I think, you know, again, it goes back to his athleticism. You know, he has a plan when he has the ball in his hands, right? Like, he has a plan on how he wants to set up a defender, you know, maneuver, make people miss. You know, it's different than probably how David breaks tackles and how is Jordan. Jordan uses a little bit more of, you know, shiftiness in those points of contact. So, you know, hopefully we see more of it this week and give him opportunities in space to go use that.
You can't say who else might end up on the roster yet, right? In terms of.
I'd probably rather not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just George has some familiarity with Braves from being
Right.
in Tennessee with him for a few years. Might that help? Just in terms, I know Mike is working a lot with the tight ends and just
Yeah.
his familiarity with him.
I think that helps. You know, I think you look at, you know, George, you look at Blake, you look at these guys who were in Arizona, which there's some consistency with, you know, a former coach that was here in the system they're running. So, like, that helps from a learning standpoint. They can hit the ground running a little bit more than, you know, they could if they were coming from some offense that's not really a part of this tree, right? And so, you know, I think we have, again, like, we need a sum of our parts to provide to the whole, and we have guys that we feel like can do that. And, you know, our job as coaches is to put them in positions of strength where they can allow what they do best to show up on Sunday.
What have you seen from those two young practice squad guys? I mean, they've only been here now less than a month.
Yeah. You're talking about Cam then as the other young one. Yeah, I mean, I think both athletically move around really well. You know, I think they learn it well. I think both of them have position flex, which is important because you can play them at Y, you can play them at F, you can do different things with them. They can provide in the run game, provide in the pass game. And, you know, for them, it's just continuing to learn what we're doing and how we want to get it done. And, but they've done a nice job over the last, what has it been, 10 days, 12 days, something like that. And then obviously, you know, Jeff coming in has been, you know, he's going into year 10 right now. And so you can have conversations with him about, you know, things that he sees, you know, anticipate. I think he's been really good just in the short period for the room, having such a vet that's gone through a lot of the battles that he has.
You talked about blocking. How much are you? I mean, more involved than you might have to be this week with considering, especially the edges that Jacksonville has.
Yeah, I mean, I think week to week, that's always going to be a part of what the tight end's asked to do, right? I mean, there's a lot of good rushers in this league, and it's our job to make sure that we help in the situations where we need to alleviate some of the rush, help the tackles, help the quarterback. You know, I would say the first 2 weeks through the season, we've played two teams with two very good edge players, right? And, you know, these guys might be a little bit different than last week, but they've been just as effective. So, you know, we're challenged in the run game, protection game, pass game. That's part of playing the position, and that's, you know, it's probably going to be pretty consistent throughout the year.
How do you look at the Jags defense going off of that? What are the challenges that they present the most, especially for the tight ends?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two, you know, you look at 41, obviously a tremendous athlete, plays extremely hard, You know, like you cannot stop on a play. He's going to make it. You know, 44 is a big, stout play through the tight end. You know, we're giving up weight to both those guys, but you know, you look at 44 in the run game, and he wants to play through you. So we got to play with great technique against them. We got to play with great balance, and you know, a strength of their defense are those edge players, and we're on those edges a lot. So again, it's about our fundamentals and technique when you're playing against guys like that, and just a strain to finish and continue to fight with them.
So, I mean, we've seen Kevin Stefanski navigate adversity and kind of bring this team through after tough losses or whatever's going on. What have you sort of observed from him this week, and what sort of tone has he set? For
I think
guys?
like when you can, when you know what you're going to get from the person in charge, the guy that's leading everybody, I think that, you know, always speaks volumes, right? He's somebody that's the same guy every day. I think our players can resonate with that and relate to that. And it's not a roller coaster of emotion. It's a consistent message, a consistent approach that I think in times where you got to be persistent through things can help. And so, you know, that's how Kevin's been. That's how obviously he's had, you know, a lot of success here and a lot of things that he's worked through. And for me, as a young coach, to be able to observe that and see how it's handled, you know, really beneficial.
I know we asked you about Mike Vrabel the last time we talked to you, but if he wasn't out there, would somebody else be taking that?
He misses that part of the game. You know what I mean? Like, he plays Mike linebacker on the scout team. He'll come out there with the bag or not the bag and take the hit. Like, he's a weird, I mean, I love him. I mean, I love him, but I'm not going to be doing that. And I think he's taken enough hits, but shoot, he can take them. He's a big man. So he is a big man.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys.